Right, so for this deep dive, we're going to start in the pre-dawn hours on the Crimean Peninsula.
Right.
It's 3 a.m. in Novo-Federivka, which is, a resort town. And there was this false sense of security there. The war felt very distant.
Mm-hmm.
But then, on this one night, the sky didn't just flash. It was ripped open.
A rude awakening.
A massive one. The target was the Saki Air Base, a site that Moscow considered, basically untouchable, a pillar of its power in the Black Sea.
Absolutely.
And the evidence of the strike's success wasn't just the first boom, it was the cascading disaster that came after.
Mm.
You hear about sirens, glass shattering for miles, but the critical sound was those secondary detonations.
It's a telltale sign.
Exactly. That's the sound of high-value assets, fuel tanks, ammo depots, precision-guided munitions, all just cooking off one after.
Uncontrolled.
So our mission today is to really unpack the source material around this. How was this unsinkable aircraft carrier breached? How was Moscow's so-called red line not just crossed, but basically erased? And I think most importantly, what does this tell us about where modern warfare is headed?
Well, to really get the scale of this, you have to appreciate the target itself. Crimea, since the annexation, has been turned into a kind of geopolitical fortress.
Right.
And Saki Air Base was maybe its most important piece. I mean, this wasn't just some dusty airstrip. It was the beating heart of Russia's entire aerial operation in the south.
Home to some of their best regiments, right? The Su-30s and Su-24s.
That's it, the 43rd Independent Naval Assault Aviation Regiment. So the objective here, it wasn't just about destroying a few fuselages or getting a body count. This was a direct strike at Russia's center of gravity.
Blinding the giant.
Blinding the giant. You neutralize Saki and you strip away the air cover for the Black Sea Fleet. You force their most important aircraft, the ones doing reconnaissance and standoff strikes, to pull back hundreds of kilometers. And that has consequences far beyond the base itself.
That context just makes the whole thing feel so much more audacious. I mean, to hit Saki, you have to get through Russia's A2AD bubble, their anti-access area denial zone.
Which they claimed was one of the most impenetrable in the world.
Exactly. A system designed specifically to stop this kind of attack. So, how do you beat it?
It wasn't about brute force. It was more about choreography and misdirection. The sources point to a wolf pack tactic.
A wolf pack.
Yeah, it's a multi-layered saturation strike. The goal isn't to overpower the defense. That's too expensive, too difficult. The goal is to overwhelm it, to create a kind of mathematical deadlock for the operators on the ground.
Okay, so walk us through that. What's the first move in this wolf pack attack?
The first phase involved what the sources called the ghosts, a swarm of long-range UAVs. Cheap, expendable drones.
And their job wasn't to deliver the final blow.
Not at all. Their value was in their visibility.
They were designed to be seen.
Precisely. They flood the airspace to light up Russian radar screens, like a Christmas tree. This forces the S-400 operators into a terrible choice. Either you use your very expensive, very limited interceptors on these cheap drones,
or you risk letting something important through.
Exactly. And the calculus always pushes them to fire, so they end up wasting their ready-to-fire ammunition on what are essentially decoys. That's how you achieve saturation.
Wait, I want to push back on that framing a little. When you say the Russian air defense was outsmarted, is it really tactical genius? Or is it just a capacity failure? I mean, if you throw enough cheap metal at any system, won't it eventually run out of bullets?
That's a fair question, and the answer is it's both. Yes, it absolutely exploits a capacity limit, but the genius is in the timing and the composition of the next wave.
Okay.
So once the S-400s are busy chasing ghosts and their magazines are getting thin, that's when the real executioners arrive.
The Western-supplied munitions, the Storm Shadows, or scalpy eggs.
That's right, and this is where the smart part really comes in, using physics to their advantage. These missiles, they don't fly in from high up, they hug the terrain. They skim just meters over the Black Sea.
To stay below the radar horizon. Can you explain that for us?
Sure. Ground-based radar works on line of sight, but the Earth is curved, so there's a physical limit to how far it can see something flying very low before it just disappears behind the horizon.
So by flying low, the missiles stay invisible for longer.
For almost the entire flight. They effectively pop up right near the target, giving the already overwhelmed S-400 operators maybe seconds to react, not minutes. It was a technological ambush. It turned the system's own physics into its biggest vulnerability.
And the victim of this ambush is the S-400 Triumph, a system that, for years, analysts treated as this almost mythical weapon.
The crown jewel of their air defense. The boogeyman for NATO pilots.
Supposedly capable of tracking hundreds of targets at once. So how does this marvel of technology fail so spectacularly in its own backyard?
It failed because, well, marketing slogans rarely survive contact with a real complex attack. The S-400 is capable, yes, but it's not infinite. Every system has a saturation point.
It's not just about the number of missiles it can launch.
No, it's more about the fire control channels, the electronic brains that guide each interceptor. When you throw a mixed attack at it, slow drones, fast sea-skimming missiles, decoys, you create a processing bottleneck. It's like trying to drink from a fire hose. The system just runs out of channels to manage everything.
So the famous conclusion holds. The S-400 was designed to fight eagles, big, high-value targets like bombers.
But it failed when it was confronted by gnats, a cheap intelligence swarm. It was built for a Cold War duel, not 21st century swarm warfare.
And that failure leads us right to the next piece of this, which I find just staggering. The economic asymmetry.
Wow, it's incredible. Let's open the ledger of war on this, because the exchange is just brutal.
It's not just a military strike. It feels like economic sabotage.
It absolutely is. I mean, think about what Russia lost. A single S-400 battery, with all its radars and vehicles, can cost upwards of $500 million.
500 million.
And a single Su-30 SM jet is, what, 40 to 50 million? These are complex systems that are incredibly hard to replace, especially under sanctions. They can't just ramp up production of the microchips they need.
And on the other side of the ledger, what was the bill for the attack?
Well, a Storm Shadow missile is about $2.5 million. And those decoy drones, maybe $20,000 to $50,000 each.
The cost ratio is just, it's astronomical.
You're trading a king for a pawn over and over again. It's a totally unsustainable exchange rate. If you're forced to spend $100 million to defend against a $5 million attack that still gets through, you're basically bankrupting your own military.
It's a slow, grinding bankruptcy.
That's what modern economic warfare looks like, using cheap, nimble tech to destroy high-value legacy systems.
Of course, that kind of humiliation rarely goes unanswered. What was the immediate fallout from the Kremlin?
They couldn't afford to look weak. So within 48 hours, they launched what you could call the Empire's Wrath, a big volley of Kalibr cruise missiles and Iskander ballistics.
But the targets they chose are very telling, aren't they? They didn't just go after military command posts.
They hit civilian centers, Odessa, Mykolaiv, Kyiv. They targeted energy grids, port infrastructure, even grain silos.
It was a punitive campaign.
It was. The message was brutal and clear. You hit our military prestige in Crimea, we destroy your civilian livelihood. It's an attempt to break the will of the population that supports the whole war effort.
So that was the loud public reaction. What was the quiet military concession that happened behind the scenes?
That's where it gets really interesting. The most revealing consequence was what came next. The Great Retreat.
The Great Retreat.
Satellite imagery in the days after the strike showed it clearly. The Russian aerospace forces started moving their surviving high-value planes, the Su-34s and Su-35s, out of the forward bases in Crimea.
Pulling them back.
Pulling them way back, deeper into the Russian mainland, mostly to the Krasnodar region, far out of range.
That makes sense for protecting the aircraft, but what's the day-to-day cost of that move? You called it the tax of distance.
And that tax is steep. Distance is a killer for efficiency. Suddenly, your jets are based hundreds of kilometers further away. That means longer flight times, which means way more fuel burned, more wear and tear on the airframes, more pilot fatigue.
And less time over the battlefield.
Critically less time. Their loiter time, the time they can actually spend supporting troops, drops from minutes down to maybe seconds in some cases. For close air support, that lag is fatal. A pilot an hour away can't save a unit that's under attack now. It was a huge strategic concession, an admission that Crimea was no longer a safe haven.
Let's pivot from the hardware to the software, I guess.
Yeah.
The psychological shockwaves. This had to be a massive blow to the Russian populace.
Oh, profound. Because Crimea isn't just a military base. It's a powerful symbol of national pride. It's a vacation spot. When mushroom clouds are rising over your beach resorts, the war has literally come home.
And we all saw the footage on social media.
The lines of cars jamming the highways trying to get to the Kerch Bridge, that creates a moment of cognitive dissonance for people.
If the special military operation is going according to plan, why is everyone in Crimea running for their lives?
Exactly. It punctures the state-run narrative of total control. And think about the soldiers on the ground. They just watched their best air defense system fail to protect a rear base. It plants this corrosive seed of doubt. If you're not safe there, are you safe anywhere?
And the single strike also had huge geopolitical ripples, didn't it? For the West, this is a massive proof of concept.
A huge one.
Mm.
Allies had been agonizing over sending long-range missiles, terrified it would cross some reddest of red lines and trigger a massive escalation.
Maybe even a nuclear one.
That was the fear.
Mhm.
But Sankey proved you could hit the heart of Russian military power deep behind the lines and the nuclear silos would stay closed. It validated the whole strategy of gradual escalation.
And it empowered the Hawks.
It absolutely empowered the Hawks in Western capitals who were pushing for more advanced aid, like F-16s. The entire risk calculation shifted overnight.
And there's one other audience watching this very, very closely. The global arms market.
Oh, for sure. Countries like India, Turkey, China, they've spent billions on the S-400 system because they bought into the marketing that it was unbeatable.
And now they're seeing combat failed instead of combat proven.
Precisely. When your top-of-the-line system can't even protect your own main airbase from a conventional strike, it just erodes your prestige as a military superpower. The loss isn't just hardware, it's trust and future sales.
So if we pull the lens all the way back, what's the biggest takeaway here? The strike on Saki feels like more than just one battle. It feels like a turning point, like it signals the death of the static fortress.
That's the headline right there. The old military age of mass, the idea that you're safe if you just park huge numbers of tanks and planes in neat rows, that age is over. If you're standing still in the modern era, you are a target.
Because with modern surveillance and precision weapons,
nothing fixed is truly safe anymore.
so the new rules of the game belong to velocity and data.
Exactly. Victory now goes to the side with the faster kill chain. The one who can spot, track, and destroy a target before the enemy even knows they're being watched. Agility trumps armor.
What's so fascinating is that the physical map of the Black Sea is the same, but the strategic reality is completely different now. The heart of the Russian military in the region is suffering from an arrhythmia caused by a much more agile opponent. The red line is gone.
And that leaves us with a final thought to really chew on. If the S-400, the best air defense Russia has, can be defeated by a complex calculation of speed, altitude, and volume, then the question every military has to ask itself is this: are you prepared for a conflict where the sky is no longer safe for anything that stays still?